Hello, good morning. Good morning, everybody. Am I audible? I'm audible, and whether I'm on the screen for everybody. Is it okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So, good morning to all the participants. And at the outset, I welcome Dr. Rahul Chavan, sir. He is the assistant professor at VD College of Agricultural Biotechnology, Latur. And it is my privilege as a organizing secretary to introduce him in a brief manner. So, Dr. Rahul Chavan, sir, has the 12 years of the service to his credit, and he has guided the 17 PG students, and furthermore, he is a recognized PhD guide also. He has achieved the 18 awards from the different institutes and the organizations. He has written 4 books, and he has written the 51 technical articles, 26 scientific articles, and even he has the PI as well as the co-PI for the different research projects which has been received to their institute from the DPT as well as from the DST, as well as he has developed the kits for the cotton and banana crops for the different purposes. So he is a very versatile personality in the field of research as well as teaching and in the extension. So Dr. Rahul Chavan, sir, with this particular introduction, I request you to please go forward for the your today's theme, that is molecular diagnosis of plant pathogens in micropropagated plants. So now we'll listen Rahul Chavan, sir, on this particular topic. Please, sir. Sir, you can share your PPT. सध्या काय झालंय ही इम्प्लिमेंटल वेदर आहे ना ते इट इज अफेक्टिंग
Sir, I think there is some of the connectivity problem to Dr. Rahul Chavan. Maybe shortly he will connect. Please you stay connected. Connector.
सगळ्या लाईन्स
हॅलो, थोडा स्पीकर थोडा कनेक्टिव्हिटीचा प्रॉब्लेम आहे. एक 5 मिनिटांमध्ये होईल कनेक्ट. सो बाकीच्यांचे कोणाचे काही प्रश्न असतील तर बोला. परवा थोडस चुकून चॅटबॉक्स मध्ये थोडेसे प्रश्न हे झाले होते. दॅट वॉज दे पर्टिक्युलरली दे RFLP markers. They are the codominant markers.
हॅलो
हा बोला.
सर, मृणालिनी बोलते.
हा बोला मॅडम.
सर, कालच्या ह्याच्यात एक क्वेश्चन विचारायचं राहिलं होतं तुम्हाला
हा बोला.
की इफ यू वॉन्ट टू प्रोक्युअर अल्कोहोल बिकॉज वी नीड अल्कोहोल फॉर स्टरलायझेशन, मग ते प्रोक्युरन्स आपण कसं करणार सर?
Actually, if you have the established laboratory,
ओके
there is a provision of licensing. म्हणजे जसं आपण ह्याला देतो लायसन कशाला, दारू दुकाना वगैरे जे असतं की नाही, त्यांना जसं लायसन असतं तसं तुम्हाला एक ठराविक कोट्याचं लायसन असतं. तुम्हाला दाखवावं लागतं की साधारण आम्ही 1 लाख प्रोडक्शन करणार आहोत.
ओके
So if you give that, they would provide procure the license to you.
ओके ओके सर, थँक्यू.
And that license is directly you will get from the sugar industries.
ओके, फ्रॉम द शुगर इंडस्ट्रीज.
Yeah.
ओके ओके
ते तुमच्या डिस्ट्रिक्ट लेवलला ते हे असतात, एक्साइज ऑफिसर असतात.
ओके
ते एक्साइज ऑफिसर तुम्हाला रिकमेंड करतात ते तिथं. मग आपण तिकडून जाऊन कलेक्ट करायचं.
ओके थँक्यू सर.
चव्हाण सर प्लीज.
Oh, sir. Okay, sir.
Yeah.
This day, sir.
हा जरा एकच मिनिट, तुम्ही इंट्रोडक्शनच्या वेळेला नेमके बाहेर गेला होतात.
अच्छा. काय हरकत नाही.
एक मिनिट, तुमचा आवाज मिटेल. त्यांचा आवाज मिटेल.
So, good morning to all the participants and good morning to Dr. Rahul Chavan also. So, friends, today Rahul Chavan is going to deliver the lecture on the molecular diagnosis of plant pathogens in micropropagated plants. So, Dr. Rahul Chavan sir presently is working as an assistant professor at the VD College of Agriculture Biotechnology, Latur. And to his credits, there are the 5 different projects as a PI as well as the OPI. Furthermore, he has guided the 17 MSc students as well as he is a recognized PhD teacher, and he has written the 4 books. To his credits, 51 technical papers are there and 16 scientific articles to his credits are there. So he is a very versatile personality, and today we will listen him for the theme which just I have told you. So Dr. Rahul Chavan sir, as a organizing secretary for this online training program, once again I welcome you and request you to please deliver the lecture on the topic you have selected. Please, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir, for a nice introduction. So, first, good morning to all of you. So, I am very thankful to the organizer for giving me an opportunity to deliver my talk in the area in which I am working. So, today I am going to deliver my talk on molecular diagnosis of.
आपला थोडा आवाज कमी येतोय.
बरं.
हा, थोडं म्हणजे पोझिशन तुमची ऍडजस्ट करायला लागते किंवा काय जरा बघा.
ओके. सो आता येतोय आवाज?
Yes, clear. It's very clear.
Okay. So today I am going to deliver my talk on molecular diagnosis of plant pathogen in micropropagated plants. Okay. So in this aspect, I am going to cover not only the tissue culture plants, but some important agronomical crops, also horticultural crops also. So So first of all, I would like to highlight the importance of pathogen diagnosis. Okay, so why it is necessary to diagnose the pathogen at early stage. Okay, so all of you aware that pathogen diagnosis is fundamental to all aspects of plant pathology, and okay, it is being used in a quality plant production. So it enabled to take a qualified disease management decision, because unless we carry the pathogen with our explant or in a seed, so it will carry over the disease into the next generations. And okay, so it is a very efficient and very essential to take qualified decisions unless and until we cannot identify the pathogen at proper stage. It enable effective use of chemicals to control epidemics. So when we able to identify the particular disease, particular pathogens, so we can control and avoid the future epidemics. Okay, and in sometimes there should not be a particular solution, because the situation is out of the control, just like in case of the COVID-19 pandemic situation, because now the disease has spread entire the world and become epidemic. So same situation should not be happen in case of the plant. So that's why to prepare a quality plant produce, we should have a efficient diagnostic methods, protocols. And so the rapid diagnosis also help to take efficient management decision. So precise and rapid detection of the seedborne pathogen can prevent their introduction and spread of the disease. So most of the times what happens, some of the pathogens which are have a quarantine importance, they have restricted boundaries. So it should not be spread in a restricted areas. Okay, so such pathogens are called as a quarantine pathogens. Okay, so and furthermore, that is epidemiology. So epidemiological study of the disease is also possible when we can able to diagnose them in a proper way. So just I will focus on some glimpses of important diseases which made history in Indian agriculture system. So lead blight of potato. Then this is a great Bengal famine, which is caused by the Helminthosporium oryzae. Then this is the oily spot disease in case of the pomegranate. Entire the pomegranate industry have been facing the problem of this disease. Then citrus canker, then papaya ring spot virus, then kernel bunt of wheat. So not only these diseases, but some important viral diseases also they are threatening to the farmer community and entire agriculture system. So for example, in case of the banana, several viruses, banana bunch top viruses, banana streak viruses, then banana bract mosaic virus, then CME virus, okay, streak virus, then chili leaf curl virus, cotton leaf curl virus. Okay, means virus is a obligate parasite, so it is very difficult to identify such pathogens. And in order to produce a quarantine, in order to produce quality plantlet in case of the tissue cultures, we must have a proper disease diagnostic procedure, so we can take a proper decisions and control the epidemics. So what is the need of early diagnosis of plant viruses? Because compared to the fungal pathogen, bacterial viruses are very threatening pathogens, and it is very difficult to identify. So why it is required to diagnose them at early stage? Because we know the virus do not have, means most of the plant do not have a resistant genes, and new emerging strains defeat a resistant gene pool inside the plant, and plant varieties are becoming susceptible. So we should have a proper diagnosis, so we can prepare a escape mechanism, so we can avoid the entry of such viruses into the plant community. So viruses are the devastating. So they are the devastating pathogens. It causes losses because of their systemic infections. So they move rapidly inside the plant system through xylem and phloem and spread entire the plant body in a short span. viral epidemics due to emergence of a new strains of virus or a new form of vector, because in a short span it result into the epidemics because of it there are a number of vectors which transmit this pathogen from one location to another location. So most of the insect pests, they are acting as a vector, and they are transmitting these virus diseases to the healthy plant population. And not only it is a devastating pathogen, but it also disturb the host plant metabolism, because entire machinery of the plant, just like DNA, RNA, and various enzymes, catalytic enzymes, metabolic enzymes, being utilized by this virus for their own survival. So in that case, plant unable to produce the seed, or we can fruit in case of the horticultural crop. So plant maybe such plant became sterile, not able to produce fruits, and because of the disturb of the plant metabolic system. And the viruses are very difficult to identify because of the synergistic or antagonistic effect between the viruses on the plant. Sometimes what happens, the 2 or 3 different viruses, or maybe 2 to 3 different strains of the same viruses attacking the host plant, and they produce a synergistic effect. So such a new different type of the symptoms, and it become a very difficult to a expert, crop expert, pathologist, and microbiologist to identify the correct cause of these symptoms, whether any new pathogen is attacking. So it's very difficult because of such antagonistics and synergistic effect. Then sometimes there are mode of transmission and disease symptoms, because they are finding some alternate host, alternate new host, and once they defeat, then the plant system becomes susceptible. So in that case, to avoid other alternate host system being infected by this virus, it is very essential to find at proper stage. Then high rate of mutation and recombinations leads genetic diversity and variation in virulence and symptoms. Okay, some of the cases what happen, the mutation rate is very high, recombinations rate is very high in case of the viruses, just like we are observing in case of the COVID-19. Okay, what happens? The number of strains might be a crossing and recombine to each other, so that a new strains are generating, and such strain become a very virulent and defeat the all resistant gene pool available into the plant system. Okay, so it's a high risk factor. And so in that case, we should have a proper decision to implement the management practices and prepare a quality plant-led production in case of the tissue culture industry to take a proper decision. So we should have a strategic decisions and tactical decisions. Okay, so because of once the epidemic is happened, so it will cause injury, and it will leads to a crop losses and economic losses. And so in that case, we have to implement a strategic decision at epidemic situation of the disease, and tactical decisions when in case of the injuries is happening to the plant, and the financial losses resulting. So what are the limitations of conventional methods? Because conventional methods means based on the indicator plant, based on the morphological observations, based on the phenotype, okay, based on the microscopic observations, we can able to find such pathogens. But there are some limitations, because molecular methods, which they have a tremendous, they are robust, rapidity, accuracy. So these are the some advantages of these molecular methods. So what are the drawback over conventional methods? Okay, what are the limitations of the conventional methods? So first, the conventional methods are time consuming, they are laborious, insensitive. These conventional methods required skilled as well as specialized microbiological expertise to identify the correct pathogen. Then obligate parasite, such as viruses, they are very difficult to identify. because sometimes they are present in a latent stage, could not produce symptoms. So in that case, it is very difficult to identify. So closely related organisms, difficult to discriminate morphologically, because in some of the cases, like in case of the fungi and bacteria, their spore morphology is very similar. We cannot differentiate whether this is alternaria or whether this is a rhizoctonia. So because of their mycelium structure, their protein behavior, their conidia, or in case of the viruses, their morphology, size. So we cannot discriminate based on the microscopic observations only and producing the symptoms. And diagnosis of plant disease becomes a more difficult with asymptomatically infected propagative materials such as suckers, tree grafting, stalks, or tubers. Because in case of the tissue culture, we are using the suckers or graft, okay, or the shoot tips. So in that case, suppose virus is present in a latent stage. Latent stage means in a hidden stage. It could not exhibit symptoms. Plant could not produce these symptoms. So in that case, it is very difficult to identify. And by mistake, suppose we have carried such a material in a multiplication into the laboratory, then we are simultaneously propagating this virus or this obligate parasite along with the planting materials. And it's a very huge loss to the farmers when we are selling such a infected material to the plant, to the farmers. Okay, so then what are the some advantages? So which can be overcome the limitations of these conventional methods. Okay, so molecular methods, they are very precise and rapid, and they require a very little quantity of the DNA as well as pathogen for detections. And we can implement such diagnostics tool for on-site detections, means into the farm, into the field, we can able to detect such pathogens. Then obligate parasites and fastidious prokaryotes like viruses and phytoplasmas, which can be easily identified, which are very difficult to identify at morphologically or by using conventional methods. So what are the advanced features so that we can focus on a molecular methods of diagnosis? So detection specificity, okay, means these methods which are highly specific, they to the particular target organisms, they can detect only the particular strain, particular pathogen from the entire genus of this so sensitivity, they are very sensitive. So even a pentogram, so because our PCR is able to detect a nanogram quantity of DNAs or indirectly a pathogen, but some recent tools are available. They are very sensitive and they can detect a pentagram quantity of the DNA. It's very little quantity, or even a single copy of the template is possible to detect these pathogens. Then discrimination of the viability of the pathogens by using bio-PCR means whether target pathogen is a dead pathogens or living pathogens, we can differentiate. Pathogen quantification means how much quantity of the pathogen is present in a given tissues or in a suckers, we can able to identify. And multiplexing approach means simultaneously we can detect a number of pathogen in a single platform. So this is called as a multiplexing approach, because conventionally we cannot do it. So in a single set of PCR or in single set of our kit, we can able to detect a number of pathogens. High throughput mechanisms. So it's a robotic. In some of the techniques, they have a robotic mechanisms, and we can handle a number of pathogens, thousands of pathogen in a short span. So because of such a high throughput delivery systems available in some of the diagnostic protocols and methods. So these are the so these are the some advantages of these molecular methods over the conventional methods. Okay. So coming to the next. What are the different molecular diagnostic approaches? Okay. Am I audible? Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So, what are the different molecular diagnostic approaches so we can use in a tissue culture industry as well as in agricultural system? So there are basically we can categorize all these approaches into the 4 different types: biological methods, physical methods, nucleic acid based methods, and serological based methods. So in case of the biological methods, we can use indicator plants. So indicator plants are plants which are acting as an ideal host for the plant pathogens, so that pathogen can easily infect such plants and produce symptoms. So based on this symptoms appearance and infectivity to this plant, we can call them as an indicator plant for identification of the specific pathogen. Because the pathogen have a host specificity, they are able to infect a particular host because of the gene for gene hypothesis given by the scientist H.S. Floor. So we are using such a model plant as an indicator plant and using in identification of these pathogens in biological methods and transmission by vectors. Okay. So again, the viruses are very specific to particular vector. Based on their vectors transmissions, we can able to identify such viruses. Now, under the physical methods are there are 2 types of the methods. One is electron microscopy and another one is a mass spectrometry. Okay, so based on their structure, their shape, which type of the nucleic acid material is present, how many components of the nucleic acid is sharing by this pathogens, we can able to find, we able to identify virus. The nucleic acid based methods, so they are basically categorized into 3 types: hybridization based methods, PCR based methods, and sequencing based methods. So we'll focus in a detail nucleic acid based methods. Then serological based methods are also categorized into several types and they have a commercialization. So nucleic acid based and serological based methods they are commercialized, and several kits which are available in the market for detection of the pathogens. In case of clinical laboratories, in case of the plant health clinics, and in case of the tissue culture industries also. So what are the serological approaches? Immunoelectron microscopy, enzyme-linked immunosorbent assay, that is called as ELISA, then dot immunobinding assay, DIPA, immunoblotting assay, and lateral flow immune assay. So these are the serological methods which have been commercialized. Okay, then next serological detection methods. So based on the serological, so they are based on the antigen antibody detections. Now we are using specifically 2 types of the antibodies: polyclonal antibodies and monoclonal antibodies. Okay, and assay, it is assay is divided into means we are using basically 2 types of methods, that is ELISA and Western blotting. So in case of this ELISA, we are using direct antigen coating ELISA methods and double antibody sandwich methods. So in case of this double direct antigen coating ELISA, so this is the ELISA plate, titer plate, and this one is the antigen. So this antigen is directly bind to the titer plate, and we are using a monoclonal antibody which is specific to this antigen. It will bind, and subsequently we are immobilizing a polyclonal antibody which is conjugated with enzymes, and finally we are using a substrate, and the substrate in case of the detection techniques, we are adding the substrate, and substrate utilized by these enzymes and produce a color and by chemiluminescence technology, and this color during this antigen antibody reaction happen. So it measured under the spectrophotometers, and based on the intensity of that color, we are quantifying. We are able to quantify the pathogens, how much quantity of the pathogen is present in a given sample. Okay, so similarly, in case of the double antibody sandwich, the same principle we are applying, but here to the titer plate, first we are immobilizing our antibody, okay, monoclonal antibody, which are bind to the titer plate, and then we are adding the antigen. So antigen specific to this monoclonal antibody bind to the particular antibody. If it is not specific, it will be washed out. Then we are adding again the secondary antibody, which are conjugated with the enzyme, and then the same assay, that is a substrate we are adding, and the enzymatic reaction happens and color emitted. So that color is read in case under the spectrophotometer, and based on the intensity of the color, we are quantifying the pathogen. So it is a qualitative and quantitative assay for the measuring the quantity of the pathogen. So another approach, that is hybridization based method. So it is categorized basically into 3 types. So this is the southern hybridizations, this is the fluorescence in situ hybridization, and DNA chips. Okay. So the southern hybridization, first we have to isolate the DNA from our pathogens. Okay. Maybe viruses or bacteria or fungi, then restrict their whole genome by using restriction enzymes, and then transfer to the nylon membrane, all restricted fragment, and use a specific probe. So this probe able to hybridize and then produce a particular fragments. So in the form of through detection techniques by autoradiography or by using chemiluminescence technology. And if the band is represent, then we can say a particular pathogen is present. Then similarly, in case of the fluorescence in situ hybridizations, on-site hybridization is possible. So we can able to find a particular gene and their location on specific location into the genome. Then a DNA chip. So this is a silicon mediated platforms, or maybe glass. So where a number of probes are immobilized, and we can screen a number of pathogens simultaneously, because suppose a mixture of soil, suppose we have to identify the pathogen from soil, we can isolate the soil, and then isolate the soil DNA, and then hybridize with this membrane sheet, and then wherever it is hybridized, okay, that dot appears. So it indicates the particular pathogen is present in their soil. So we can detect simultaneously number of pathogens through a DNA chips. So now PCR and molecular diagnostic methods. So PCR, it's a beautiful technique given by the scientist Carey Mullis, because it is a routine practice or routine instruments being used in a molecular biology experiments in not only in agriculture but in food industry, clinical industry, medical industry. So it's a very useful instrument. Now we are just experiencing the use of utility of this instrument in case of the COVID detection. Okay, so we can see here lots of PCR variants are available. Okay, so and the PCR variants, they have a different utility. Okay, it's a because normally in 1993 that first generation PCR, it has a basic protocol, it is denaturation, annealing, and extinction, and only the aim is to amplify the particular target sequence. But later on, invention comes, and number of variants have been identified, like RT-PCR, reverse transcriptase PCR, means we can use RNA as a target and detect the particular gene or a particular pathogen from the given RNA sample. Multiplex tandem PCR. So here in multiplex tandem PCR means number of pathogens we can detect simultaneously based on the repeat sequences. Then SNP profiles, single nucleotide polymorphisms. Nowadays, in case of the breeding, or in case of the seed production system, quality plantlet productions, so the SNP markers being used to identify the genetic purity of the seed, or so it is being used in case of the tissue culture industry to identify the genetic purity of the tissue culture or micropropagated plantlets. Then nested PCR, so it increased the specificity of the pathogen detection. We are using a two primers, uh, inner primers and outward primers. So suppose inner primers by mistake failed to detect the pathogen, but outer primers could able to identify the specific target, and therefore increase the specificity of the pathogen detection. Nested PCR being used. Then MCH PCR, that is a magnetic capture hybridization PCR, because it increased the specificity and sensitivity also, because in a given pool, we have to detect a particular pathogens and so many microbes are available. So such a magnetic pit, which are labeled to particular probes, and this probe able to bind the particular pathogen target sequence and only screen out a specific pathogen or specific disease from the number of organisms, a mixture of the organisms. Okay. So now the PCR ELISA is there, then LAMP is there, then recombinase polymerase in reaction, that is RPA based kits are available. Then NGS, next generation sequencing, so many platforms are available for the detection of the pathogens. And transcriptome profile, because in case of the RNA viruses, is what are the different nucleic acid components are present. Okay, is there any recombinant variants are present? So we can use such a transcriptome profile and this NGS technology for identification of the plant pathogen. Okay, now the mass spectrometry. So it is also a recent new techniques which is being used for the identification of the pathogen. So in case of this mass spectrometry, so it is a cheap, rapid and reliable technique for identification and typing of the microbes. So MALDI-TOF MS is emerging primary method for rapid identification and characterization of the pathogen. So in that case, first we have to prepare the sample, and then we have to load this sample into this MALDI-TOFs in mass spectrometry instrument. And so here the ionization process happens, and then this particularly then it is transferred to the mass analyzer, and the ions are detected by ion detectors, and it gives a spectra. So that spectra is read by the computational softwares, and we can able to identify the pathogens based on their mass and charge, or based on the particular or typical spectra produced by the particular pathogen. So now considering to the PCR based diagnostic detection of the plant pathogens, so what are the different genes? Specifically, housekeeping genes are the main target which are being used in a diagnostic tool development. For example, ribosomal DNA, beta tubulin gene, then translation elongation factor, then camudin, then AVR gene, mitochondrial genes, actin, and heat shock protein, and glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate dehydrogenase, that is called as GPDH gene. So these are the housekeeping genes being used in bacterial, fungal, as well as in case of the virus detection. But other structural gene also being used for the virus detection: code protein gene, replicase proteins, and moment protein genes. And some proteins like CRISPR-Cas9 and Cas12 proteins, they are also being used in virus detection in case of the an enzyme, for example, recombinase polymerase enzymes. Okay. BST enzymes. So such enzymes are also being used in a virus detection. So now I will highlight some molecular diagnostics of the important pathogens which are developed in our laboratory. So oilseed crop, basically sunflower. So we have developed diagnostic kits for pathogens: Alternaria helianthi, Alternaria longipes, Alternaria dianthicola, Alternaria alternata, then Deschlera australensis. So in case of the cotton crop, we have developed a diagnostic tool for the Rhizoctonia solani, Rhizoctonia botatricola, then the Xanthophonas axonopodis PV malleus. We have developed a kit for detection of this bacterial bite disease of the cotton. Then in case of the onion, we have developed diagnostic primer for the Alternaria pori. Then in case of the pomegranate, detection for the Xanthomonas punici, Alternaria citri. Then in case of the banana, we have developed a bench protocol for detection of the banana bunch top virus and banana streak virus, so which is being used in a quality tissue culture plantlet productions. Okay, so this is the molecular diagnosis of the cotton pathogens. We have developed this kit, and we have patented this technology, and this kit able to detect this pathogen with a minimal of 25 bacterial cells by producing a 0.4 kb DNA fragment, which is specific. And because morphologically this identification of this pathogen is very difficult, because there are hundreds of such bacterial species which are available, and they are producing a similar symptoms. The yellow colonies morphologically same, so it's very difficult. But this PCR could able to detect this pathogen very precisely. So then another is a fluorescence-based detection of the paramyrothecium rhodoidum. So it is a myrothecium leaf blight disease. Disease occurred in case of the cotton plant, and we have developed this fluorescence-based detection techniques. So this primer could able to detect these pathogens by producing 185 base pair fragments, and by using real-time PCR we can able to detect. Okay, there is no need to run the gel or to visualize pictures on the agar gel. Okay, the color itself able to detect the presence of the pathogen. Then another, that is a Sun AP Ultra Detect kit for diagnosis of the alternate helantine sunflower. We have developed this bench protocol for the sunflower pathogen detection. So this kit is able to detect the pathogen from the seed itself, again from spores, and by using infected tissue, we can able to find presence or absence of the pathogen. Okay, now in case of the banana bunchy top virus detection, so we have used a TACMAN based technology. So there is a probe which is that is called as a dual labeled probe assay, and we have developed this technology for banana bunchy top virus detection. So our probe is labeled with a donor dye that is called as reporter dye FAM, and we are using the quencher, okay, at the 3.8. And again, we are using a TED dye as a housekeeping genes to act as the internal positive controls, and their 3' end is also labeled with the quencher dye. And we are using this exonuclease activity of the polymerase enzymes. When the probe get hybridized, and during the PCR reaction, the primer able to bind and multiplying the another strand of the template, the probe is dissociated with the help of exonuclease activity, and the quencher is cleaved from this reporting dye, and it emits the fluorescence. So the number of strands which are generated during the PCR reactions, so proportionally the fluorescence is emitting. So it able to find the amount of fluorescence is produced inside the whole reaction at the end. So we can find the quantitative nature of the pathogen, how much quantity it is present. So these techniques we have used in case of the bunchy top virus detections, and we developed a protocol for detection of this banana bunchy top virus. So at different stages, subculture stages or multiplications, or not only multiplication stages, but we can also able to detect at a mother culture level. Then multiplex PCR based detection of banana viruses simultaneously. So this is developed by the Selvararajan and his team from the Banana Research Institute. So they develop a assay which can detect the all banana viruses in a single platform. So this is the cucumber mosaic virus. This is a mild banana mosaic virus, banana bunchy top virus. This is a bract mosaic virus of the banana. So they have a different size of the PCR amplicons, and based on their size, so they can separate on a agarose gel. So in a single reaction, so we can detect these 4 pathogen, okay, in the same reaction in the same time. So this is called as a multiplex approach of and by using reverse transcriptase enzymes, because here CMV and this is the banana black mosaic virus, they are having RNA genome, while BBTV and DSV streak virus, they have a DNA genome. So that for RNA genome virus, we have to use a reverse transcriptase enzymes, and with the help of a complex of the reaction mixture of reverse transcriptase and polymerase enzymes, we can able to find a multiple viruses in a single platform. Okay, then now the lateral flow immunoassay detection in banana black mosaic virus. So because banana is very important horticultural crops, and it's banana and sugarcane is it's only commercialized technique for the plant tissue culture industry. Okay, so to produce a micro-propagated plants, banana, sugarcane. So nowadays pomegranate is coming, and a number of crops now coming to the markets which are propagated through a tissue culture based techniques, that is micro-propagations. But so in tissue culture industry, so such techniques or such kits are very useful to implement for their virus indexing. Virus indexing means what? To identify the presence or absence of the virus in a particular given mother stock cultures or in a micro-propagated planted. So this is called as virus indexing, and these kits are being used for diagnosis of the virus diseases inside your plant material. So this is the banana black mosaic virus. So again, this Selvarajan et al. They have published their paper in 2020 Journal of Biological Methods. So they developed this is a strip. So this is simple techniques, just like our PREGA kit, that is pregnancy detection kit. So this kit used based on the principle of this antigen antibody detection. Same. So here, so they utilized. So this is the strip. So so in this strip, they have. So this they have designed. So this is the sample pad. Okay. So this sample pad and sample pad just above the sample pad there is a conjugate release pad. Okay. So this conjugate release pad which have this banana black mosaic probe and antibody which is labeled with the gold nanoparticles, and above this there is this is a test lines which has antibody specific to this black mosaic virus, and this is the called as control line which has goat and rabbit antibodies, and above to this there is this is absorbent pad. Okay. And so when we take a extract, leaf extract of a particular plant for going to detect a pathogen or virus, so just we have to insert this strip inside this suspension culture or leaf extract which is homogenized in a buffer, specific buffer. Okay. So so this is the end of the sample pad. We have to dip inside this Eppendorf tube which have a lip suspension, and then by capillary movement whatever the virus particles or the proteins which are present, protein bodies of the host plant as well as virus plant, they are acting as antigens. They will move in upward direction. So this is the flow of movement of these proteins, okay, or antigens. So they will move in a capillary direction, in upward directions, and so here just nearer to this a conjugative release pad is present. So this pad which have antibody specific to this virus, which is conjugated with the gold nanoparticles. So they capture virus particle of the black mosaic virus, and then further they move along with this. So this is the nitrocellulose membrane. So this track is made up by nitrocellulose membrane. So they move in a upward directions in capillary movement, and at this test line, so it is trapped. So all these antigens or virus particles which are trapped on these test lines. So because there is a anti-Ig antibodies are present, and those particles or antigens or proteins which are not trapped by these test lines, they will pass over and they will trap inside this control line because they are the host proteins, and they will bind here to these control lines, and because And further, this track is made up. There is a conjugated or immobilized substrate is there, and they will produce a colorimetric reactions and produce pink color bands. And the remaining proteins they will transfer to these absorbent paths. Okay, so this test line produce pink color band, and this control line also produce a pink color band. So then we can say our sample is infected. So this is the pictures which represent. So this is the positive sample. So here test line shows pink color fragment, and control band also shows a pink color fragment or band. Okay, control line. So two bands are appearing. So then we can say our sample is a positive. While in the case of the negative sample, there is no band in the test lines. Only the control line shows a positive pink color fragments. Then we can say the sample is a negative for this BRAC mosaic virus. And if the control line do not show pink color, then it is a invalid. Again, in case of this control line do not show, test line do not show the fragment, then it is also invalid sample. Means there is some mistake in your kit or in your sample preparation. So this is the beauty of this lateral flow immunoassay. On-site detection is possible. We can detect the pathogen at the field itself. Now this is the device which are coming to the market. So in this device there is a hole. So here we can load our sample, our tissue extract with the help of the micropipette. And so this is the C and control and test line. So it shows a appearance of the pink color. And based on their appearance of the color, we can able to find whether our sample is infected or healthy. So this technique, this kit being used in a tissue culture industries for detection of the BRAC mosaic viruses. In case of the banana, then in case of the citrus, they are also utilizing. Then now, okay, another technique that is called as LAMP, loop mediated amplification. And this technology being used again by this Selvarajan and Peng et al. So for the detection of the banana BRAC mosaic virus, banana bunchy top virus, and banana streak virus, and cucumber mosaic virus. So here LAMP technique is very useful. There is it has the beauty of this technique. It should not require a PCR instrument. Only the 4 set of primers we have to utilize. So this is a primer F1, primer F2, primer F3, and loop primer. So these 4 set of primers we have to use, and we have to target. Such primers target 6 different regions inside the whole genome of particular pathogens and able to amplify. So based on this amplifications, a simple procedure is there. So first we have to prepare the sample by using any DNA or RNA extraction, because in case of the virus, genome is made up by the DNA or RNA, and we have to isolate the whole genome. Then after isolation, we have to prepare the master mix with the help of this enzyme and the BST enzymes and such 4 set of primers, and incubate at 63 degrees Celsius for 90 minutes in a water bath. No need of the PCR. So after 90 minutes, we have to bake all samples up to 80 degrees Celsius for 10 minutes for termination of the reactions. And after that, we have to simply run the assay on the 2% agarose gels for the amplification of the band. Okay, if we have agarose gel electrophoresis apparatus, and if we don't have, then directly we can observe the color development inside the tube. So if such a violet color is there, we can say the pathogen is present, and if the color is not there, then we can say the pathogen is absent, means our sample is a negative. So because here we are using a staining dye, different staining dye which are used for the double standard DNA specific cyber is there. So we can use for their labeling, and based on this appearance of the color, we can find a pathogen or absence of the pathogen. So this is the simple technique. It is commercialized, And now another techniques for the detection of the virus disease, or not only viruses but also in different quality in food industry, they are also being utilized for identification of pathogens, or whether it is a kanamycin resistant, whether kanamycin is present or absent, or in case of the tissue culture industries, it is being used for the detection of the viruses. So this recombinase polymerase enzymes. So this technique is based on the recombinase enzymes. So this is discovered by the scientist Papenburg et al. In 2006, and now it is commercialized by the company that is called as Twist DX. So this company has taken the patent and commercialized this technology. So it is highly sensitive and selective isothermal amplification, because only a single temperature step is required. So most commonly 37 or 42 degrees Celsius temperature. In between this, we have to optimize our protocol, and it is very sensitive. Okay, it detect 1 to 10 DNA target copies. Means suppose our pathogen is present in a very little quantity or in a very little template or in a single copy, even if it is present in a tissue, in a sucker, we can able to detect. It is affordable because simple. We need one incubator, because in it is a isothermal amplification for single step amplification, and sensitive. It is very specific because it works on the specificity of the primers. Primer length is 30 to 35 nucleotide bases in length. So our primers are very specific. So that's why they are very specific, and avoid the false priming and negative false amplification. Then it's a user friendly, because simply just we have to prepare the sample, incubate it, and go for the electrophoresis. So user friendly, it's rapid, and no need to use a specific equipment like PCR. So this is the principle of this technology. It is based on the recombinase polymerase amplification. So here we are using a forward primer, reverse primers, and we should have ATP recombinase binding factors. Okay, so these recombinase binding factors will bind to forward and reverse primers and form a complex. So that complex is called as a recombinase primer complex, and it will bind to the forward and reverse strand, and further. Okay, and then further, single strand binding proteins which able to bind to each of these strand, and then polymerase enzymes. So that is recombinase polymerase enzymes will bind, and strand displacing activity will start. So two strands were displaced, and then polymerase enzymes start to amplify a target sequence, and okay, two copies are formed. So likewise, this process continuously happen inside the test tube, and at the end, we could get a sufficient quantity of the amplified fragment from the target pathogens, which can be visualized on a agarose gel. So this is the simple principle of this recombinase polymerase amplification reaction based method. Then now the virus indexing for the quality tissue culture plantlet production. Okay, so why it is essential? What are the apex institution, so which will take care or are going to take care of this certification programs or certification of this plant propagators? So national certification system of tissue culture products. Okay, so the structure of this NCS TCP, DPT is Apex Institute, or we can say it is appellate authority to monitor all these tissue culture certification programs, to implement the guidelines or protocols to be adopted by the tissue culture industries or tissue culture units. Okay, so there is a certification agency for tissue culture raised plants, which is monitored by DBT. It is Apex committee, and there is another committee that is called as PMEC, that is the Project Monitoring and Evaluation Committee, which is working under the DBT, and they are going to monitor and granting approval to this National Certification System Tissue Culture Plant Management Cell. Okay, so basically there are two principal components of this certification system. One is a referral laboratory and another one is accredited test laboratory. So this referral laboratory and accredited test laboratory, that is called as ATLs. So between them, they have a collaborations. That is called as grievance redressal, means whatever the complaints which are received to the testing laboratories, so that can be solved by this referral laboratory by sending the samples for the cross confirmation whether which type of the virus or pathogen is present in a propagating materials. So such a certification norms which are vary according to the crop species, and their guidelines which are formulated by the DBT or by this NCS TCP system. And what is the role of this referral laboratory? So referral laboratories conduct confirmation test or the complaints which are received from the accredited test laboratory for the cross confirmations. So that is a redressal of the grievances received from this ATL laboratory. And again, moreover, this referral laboratory is also developing a or standardizing a protocol for the plant tissue culture materials on different crop species. Then they are conducting training how to implement such protocols. Okay, how to propagate materials. Then what type of the care should be taken while establishing the tissue culture laboratory. Then what are the greenhouse maintenance? What are the practices in a nursery management practices? Or so such type of the techniques to educate the trained human resource, okay, for under the area of the tissue cultures. So this is the role of the referral laboratory. And maintenance of the referral material means some materials which should be maintained because they are imported materials, and so that can be propagated, that can be stored. So this is the job of the referral laboratory. While accredited test laboratory, so it is they are accredited by the DBT, and they are accredited for the testing the plant samples which are produced from the tissue culture laboratories, and they have to give a report to this laboratory for the virus indexing report. And based on the report, the tissue culture laboratories are working in the production of quality planting materials. Okay, and ultimate aim of this national certification system is supply of virus-free and genetically uniform tissue culture plant to the farmers. Now, the what type of the care should be taken during the testing of the mother plant in tissue culture industry? So all mother plants or stock culture must be indexed for the viruses which are affecting to the plant species listed by NCS TCP. Okay, particular guidelines are given to particular crops. For example, citrus is there, pomegranate is there, banana is there, sugarcane is there, potato is there, fig is there. So means woody species also there. So proper guidelines are given, and which are the threatening viruses which are commonly occurs and disturbing the life cycle of the entire plants. They are listed by this NCS TCP, and every grower should adopt such techniques and follow the guidelines of this NCS and test these viruses through virus indexing methods. Okay, so then in case of the many suppose the growers are producing a number of samples in a lakh, okay, tissue culture plantlets. Okay, so in that case, he has to test 10 mother plants or stock cultures. Okay, in case of full samples, if the number of mother plants they are using for the multiplication, in that cases, at least 10 mother plant they have to mix together and take a pool samples and then test, send this sample for the virus indexing for the testing of the listed viruses which are commonly occurs on a banana or in other tissue culture plant. Then record maintenance by this every tissue culture unit. They have to maintain a proper record of each and individual mother plant, their stock culture, and what are the progeny they have produced from individual mother plant in subsequent generation up to the 8 cycles, and then uh, which are the samples they have sent for the virus indexing and what are their results. Okay, whether the samples are healthy, then they can continue their multiplication cycle up to the 8th stage. And if the samples are infected, then they have to discard the whole lot or whole plantlet which are produced from the same mother plant. Okay. Now, virus testing can be done by these accredited test laboratories or any government institute or university which having a facilities and expertise for virus testing. So they can send the sample to the ATL laboratory or government institute or universities where facility is available, and they can take the report from this institute, and then only they can able to sell their tissue culture plant to the farmers. Now how much a population should be tested during the virus indexing. Okay, so a minimum of 0.1% or at least 10 plantlets for each variety by an accredited laboratory. Means tissue culture industry has to test 0.1% the plant populations, or if the plant population is more, then they can take a pool sample and then test. Okay, then this report is valid up to the 8th passage. In some of the cases, what happened, the report is pending, but here we cannot stop the multiplication stage because a time is going. So in that case, we should have a multiplication up to the 8th cycle subculture, or it is also called as passage. So during that stage, we should get clear of our approval of our virus indexing report from the concerned accredited test laboratories. Okay, and for the for particular pathogen which are listed by this tissue culture certification system, national system. So for the banana bunchlet viruses, cucumber mosaic virus, banana bract mosaic virus, banana streak virus, and some other endophytic or epiphytic bacteria and fungi. So they are listed by this organization under testing of the samples. So validity. So valid pathogen testing results are required at the 2nd and 3rd subculture stage prior to the bulking up to the culture, because up to the 2nd and 3rd subculturing stage, our test report should be clear. So then only we can able to multiply these samples on a large scale and restricted to the 8th cycle of this subculturing. Beyond that, there are chances of somaclonal variation. So before dispatch to the farmers, the tissue culture plants growing in the nursery should be tested for the absence of the viruses. So this is the ultimate for the quality plantlet production. And before disposal of our plantlet to the farmers, we should have a clearance from this accredited test laboratory whether our plantlets are healthy and our report is negative. So this is the another pro forma which is given by the certification system for giving accreditation to the testing laboratory for virus diagnosis of the tissue culture plants. So they should have such general equipment, minimum infrastructure facility. So this is the list of the equipments should be present in the laboratory. Specific equipments for the RNA and DNA virus detection, gel documentation unit. There should be hybridization facilities in case of the probe-based detections. Then equipments for DNA fingerprintings and basic reagents which are required for such molecular biology experiments. And applicable test method as per prescribed norms should have to describe, and it should be certified by the ISO or any certification agency which is accredited by this national certification system. So this is a general accreditation conditions which is required for the accredited test laboratory. And now coming to the conclusion. So based on these number of detection techniques, such molecular diagnostic technology in agriculture industry is moving from qualitative to quantitative, because in earlier case we should able to detect whether pathogen is present or absent, but now the kits are available, technology are available, so they can detect their quantity. Pathogen diagnosis and quantification to estimate potential risk regarding disease development, establishment, and spread of inoculum and economic loss. So, not only to restrict this pathogen, but also to implement their management decisions and avoid the economic loss. It is very essential. And it provides information for well disease management decisions. It is useful in production of the quality planting material, because ultimate aim is to produce two type of the materials, disease-free materials, and under such cases, it is very essential. More emphasis is also required to increase detection specificity and sensitivity of the assay, because in some of the cases, what happened, our protocols or kits which could not detect a specific pathogens, they become the reaction give a false negative amplifications or false positive amplifications, and even the pathogen is present but it could not detect. So because of the less sensitivity, so need to be improved their sensitivity and specificity. Requirement of intensive multiplexing, quantification, and cost effectiveness of the diagnostic technology, because we can add number of features just like PCR variants, and number of technology recent come with the help of the nanotechnology, nano probe detections, and even single template detections, and on-site detection, and number of pathogens we can detect simultaneously, so that we can make it user friendly, cost effective, it is affordable to the users. And so a lot of improvement is required considering the need of industries. And finally, we should have a portable rapid detection assay, because most of the tools and techniques which are developed or which are available into the market, they are majority of them are best into the laboratory detection system. Very few techniques which are available, so they are available to the end users for on-site detection, in the field detection itself, so that farmer can able to use directly into the field, into the hardening center for the detections. So a lot of efforts are required to produce such a handy and on-site detectable diagnostic system or diagnostic kits. So with this, I can stop my lectures. So if you have queries, then you can ask.
Sir, it was very good, informative lecture. And as far as the indexing, virus indexing is a topic of the concern, because diagnosis and the prognosis of any disease, it makes a difference, and it makes a lot of difference when we are thinking for the economic benefits of that particular crop. So I think in that direction, the lecture has from the light on these different aspects. You have shown how the indexing is done by the different methods. And with these words, I now declare that your lecture has been concluded, and the session is open for the queries and doubts from the student side, those who want to ask. Please, anybody having the question, please ask the question.
Yeah, student can ask questions, because suppose any technology, because it's very difficult to understand the techniques, because most of the techniques are the recent and being commercialized. So
Sir, please stop your sharing. Sir, please stop your sharing. Just slide sharing, sir. Stop.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So there are some questions in chat box.
Okay. Okay, you can.
So, hi sir, this is Hanumant Wadekar.
Yeah.
I have a question on that you said the recombinant polymerase complex.
Yes.
So is this technology can be used in field conditions, sir?
Yeah, it is being used because here we require only that is a water bath or incubator. No need of
Okay.
the PCR. So it's a
Okay.
handy, and directly we can take the mixture from the tissue and incubate. Okay.
Okay.
And it will give colorimetric reactions, and we can detect the pathogens at field level also.
Okay. So it is available in which crops, sir?
So it is useful in virus detection in case of the
Okay.
field crops and tissue culture crops also.
And can you uh, tell the cost, sir?
Cost
Per-
for this, okay,
Yeah.
per reaction.
Yeah, per reaction, or if you want to buy a whole kit, how much samples can be done?
Okay, so if you want to kit, then suppose kit is providing the 100 reaction. Okay, so
Okay.
near about 100 or 100 rupees. It varies from company to company. 100 to 300 rupees per sample. They are offering the cost for detection.
Okay. 100 to 10. Okay, sir. Okay, sir. And I have just some basic question about this technique.
Yes.
So as you said that because it is just you have to incubate at in water bath around 30 to 40 degrees Celsius.
Yeah.
So
Dry bath. We can use a dry bath also.
okay.
Okay.
So
First,
yeah.
30
So how does it replace the whole steps we used to do in PCR? That is denaturation and then again annealing and also what the
Yeah.
basic mechanism is what.
Okay, here, so that is the mechanism of this recombinase polymerase enzymes, because these recombinase polymerase enzymes will bind to the primers and then form a recombinase primer complex. And this recombinase primer complex is able to recombine two strands, and single strand binding proteins are also there. So this single strand binding protein dissociate these two strands, and then our primers specifically able to bind and amplify the target regions. Okay.
Yes, sir. So just a minute, sir. So here basically in normal in vivo condition we have a helicase, and
Yes.
in PCR we have a denaturation at 94 degrees Celsius.
Yes,
Because
yes,
we
yes.
need to separate the strands. So in
Yeah.
this case, so how this because even for the binding of primer, you need a separation of strands. So how it is achieved here, sir?
Okay, means here, because here 2 to 3 things are there. So first one is we need a separation of the two strands. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Second
Yes, sir.
thing, we require a polymerase enzyme so that we can extend or we can copy our target gene or target DNA. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes,
And
sir.
third thing is that is the strand should not be come together. Okay, there should not
Yes,
be a
sir.
duplex formation. That's why
Yes,
single strand
single
binding
binding.
proteins. Yeah,
That's
single.
right. That's right, sir.
Yeah. And a recombinase system is there so that the primer could just like that
So
is
recombination complex work as a helicase first.
yes, yes, yes.
Or okay. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
So, sir, you can just refer the chat box.
Yeah.
The Akanksha sir just asked about the mass spectrometry.
Okay. So in case of the mass spectrometry, so that is the ionization form is there. So we have to first prepare the sample, and this sample get ionized, and this specific columns are there. So these columns, they have a directory. Okay. So based on their mass and directory available, so they can match their the molecular weight and spectrum which are produced into this chamber. And based on this laboratory of directory, we can compare. So which pathogen is able to tracing this spectrometry.
Okay, sir.
And
Thank you, sir.
what stage of tissue culture in banana virus indexing can be done? Okay, another question is there. So it is ideal stage of second to third multiplication stage. Okay, and earlier we have to attempt for a mother stock, because whatever the mother stock, that is a suckers we are procuring for the multiplications, that should be tested against such viruses which are listed by the NCS TCP. So this is the first stage, and later on at second and third multiplication or subculturing stage, we have to send sample for the virus indexing. Okay, and we can restrict multiplication up to the 8th stage or 8th subculture.
Chavan sir,
Yeah.
we continue to this. Actually, समजा जर एक लाखभर रोपं जर तयार झाली टिश्यू कल्चरची,
या
तर आपण विक्रीला काढणार ही रोपं सगळी.
हा,
त्यावेळेला त्याचं डिसीज डायग्नोसिस किंवा जे आहेत किंवा पॅथोजन डायग्नोसिस किंवा व्हायरस इंडेक्सिंग हे साधारण किती प्लांट मध्ये करावं लागतं? सर्व प्लांट मध्ये करावं लागतं की काही बल्क मध्ये करावं लागतं?
जर प्लांट, तर त्यांनी सांगितलं आहे की जवळपास 0.1% सॅम्पल आपण हे केले पाहिजे, इंडेक्सिंग केलं पाहिजे 0.1%. किंवा 0.1%. आणि जर आपल्याकडे जर खूपच जास्त जर असेल सॅम्पल, तर वी कॅन टेक सॅम्पल इन अ बल्क. ओके, 10 सॅम्पल जर एकत्र केले, टिश्यू 10 सॅम्पलचे टिश्यू एकत्र केले, अँड देन वी कॅन गो फॉर द बल्क अनालिसिस.
आणि हे केलं की आपल्याला सेल करता येतं का? नाही.
काय सर, क्वेश्चन कळालं नाही.
डायग्नोसिस जर नाही केलं आपण तर आपण सेल करू शकतो का?
ओके, जर डायग्नोसिस जर नाही केलं तर आपण लिगली वी कॅनॉट सेल द प्लांट. कारण सर्टिफिकेशन सिस्टीमचं फायनल एम आहे की बिफोर डिस्पोजल टू द फार्मर वी शुड हॅव इंडेक्स्ड. आणि काही वेळेस काय होतं की जर आपला रिपोर्ट जर आला नाही तोपर्यंत आपण 8व्या सायकल पर्यंत सबकल्चरिंग करू शकतो, तोपर्यंत आपण वाट पाहू शकतो. आणि तेव्हा जर आपला रिपोर्ट जर आला की तुमचे सॅम्पल हे पर्टिक्युलर बॅच मध्ये इन्फेक्टेड आहे, देन वी हॅव टू डिस्कार्ड होल बॅच.
टोटल बॅच.
हो, टोटल बॅच.
कारण कसं आहे की ऍक्च्युली दिस ट्रेनिंग इट इज रिलेटेड टू द एंटरप्रिन्योरशिप.
या
आमच्या पार्टिसिपंटना थोडंसं हे माहिती पाहिजे की बाबा आम्ही टिश्यू कल्चर मध्ये प्लांट तयार केली, पण प्लांट तयार केली आणि विक्री हे असं नाही आहे.
या
there are some legal issues are also there. So
yes. Because another aspect, that is genetic fidelity testing is also important. Means we have to test the purity of tissue culture plant.
yes.
They have another some set of markers are available for fidelity testing.
Yes.
We can test the bacterial pathogens and fungal pathogens also. Okay, so this is applicable to all. Means we can use it in agriculture system, fishery, or we can use in a clinical, human clinic also. So same techniques are being used, same reagents are used.
Mr. Ketan Marve.
सर, याच्या टेस्टिंगच्या लॅब्स कुठे आहेत, कुठे कुठे अवेलेबल आहेत, म्हणजे टेस्टिंग करायचे असेल?
आता रेफरल लॅबोरेटरी, there are 2 laboratories. One is at IARI, Virological Divisions, and another at CDFD, Hyderabad. So 2 referral laboratories. And accredited test laboratories, so many accredited test laboratories are there. Even government organizations or even agriculture university have authority to test such samples if they have a facility or they have a virologist or molecular biologist.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Welcome. And another recent technique, that is CRISPR-Cas9 is also there. So it is also very beautiful technique. The CRISPR-Cas9 principle also being used for the detection of the pathogens by using such nuclease activity and fluorescence generation techniques. So being used for the detection of the pathogens. So Cas9 and Cas13 proteins which are used for the detection.
There is one question from the Madhvi. Mrinalini Madhvi.
Sir, I already asked that. Sir, answered it.
Yeah.
That is been answered.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Hello.
Sir, my question is that how many lab we have to prepare for developing a lab technique? मतलब पैथोलॉजी, बैक्टीरियल लैब,
No,
फंगल
no,
लैब?
no, no, no. You just have a single laboratory.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. In that, we
Yeah.
can do bacteria.
Yeah.
We can isolate bacteria also, fungal also,
Yes, yes, yes,
fungal
yes.
culture also, and
Yeah.
virus also.
Yeah. In case of the tissue culture, major pathogen is the virus. It should be
Okay.
indexed. And fungal and bacterial, they are the minor pathogens.
Yes, sir. You have mentioned that you also develop a kit and
Yes.
you patented it. So, did you commercialize it or?
No, actually, that commercialization is part of the private firm, and
Okay.
just agriculture university or national institute, their role is to develop the techniques and commercialization. So we should. It is a part of the private institutes. So
Okay.
they want.
In return, did they give you royalty or what? I want to
No,
know
no.
the.
If it is commercialized, then only we can get the royalty.
Okay. 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 Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Is anybody having any questions? Anybody have any question? Otherwise, we'll conclude the session with word of thanks. Is it okay, participants?
Okay, in fish farm, yeah, we can test the bacterial and other fungal pathogens in a fish farm. Okay, yeah, same. We can use it because technique is the same.
So, other than this, any question is there? I think the question from chat box has been already complied and those have been answered. Anybody want to ask any questions or doubts? Okay, then I will extend the word of thanks. I'm first, thank you, Dr. Rahul Chavan, sir. It was very informative. It was given literally different techniques for the virus indexing in a very lucid and simple language. So I think the participants must have enjoyed the thing, and they must have come to know what are the yardstick for producing the virus-free plants, and what are the certification standards are also there. So really, it was an informative oration, and I'm very thankful that you have spared the time. Though today it is a holiday for you people, and again, I'm thankful to our participants that they have actively participated. They have asked the questions. And one more request to participants is that please give the answer to the feedback forms which I have given to you. Okay. So tomorrow it will be a holiday. So day after tomorrow we will join on the Monday, and it is once again requested please join dot at 10 o'clock. What is happening if the number of participants they are joining less, then we have to wait and we have to start it late, and it becomes the problem, or it becomes the liability for the orator also, because he has to go for his other professional activities which has been assigned to by his parent university. So Dr. Rahul Chavan, sir, I'm thankful once again to you, also to your university, for sparing your services and giving very nice information. So we come to know how to go for the diagnosis and the prognosis of the banana or other plants. And the students and the participants, they will apply this knowledge if they are going for the commercial venture. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir, for giving the opportunity. Thank you. Good wishes for your training programs, organizers, and to the student participant. Okay, and thanks for giving an opportunity to share my research. Okay.
Yes,
Good luck.
sir.
Good
Hope
luck.
to see you shortly. Join
Yeah, yeah, sure. See you. Thanks.
Okay.